Alright, hello. What made it a little bit another update. Wanted to show off the house I did. I finished off pretty much solved all my problems with this house. You know, well, got it looking as good as I think is reasonable. I've made this garden. The inside works now. Got gliders everywhere. There's lighting that comes through the windows, and it's no weird shading issues. It's probably a little bit too much ambient light at the moment, but think about that whenever I want. Yeah, all the gliders work. I've like filled out a bit of a garden. I don't know if it's finished yet, really. But there's a garden in the front, and there's also like a bit of a wilder area in the back. Yeah, I think I'd probably darken the ambient light. It's a little bit too bright. I decided to put in this maple tree, which I think is really nice. Although it was a lot of polygons, I think it's worth it. And yeah, I haven't put any gliders on the hedges yet, but I think I will. I think I'll just put gliders on the hedges, but not anything else. Because then they'll just be like a box mesh, very cheap to process and stuff. Yeah, I'm learning how important static meshes are, and the gliders are. Make sure they're very simple shapes. That's super important. I've also added in a new skybox. I've also added in clouds. Which you can't. It's not immediately obvious, you know? Which I like. But there are clouds out there. They are moving. And, you know, the solution in the end for this sort of stuff was just particles. You know, I investigated a bunch of solutions for the sky. You know, you can get shaders, volumetric fog clouds, and you can get crazy shaders with skyboxes and all these things, and the sun and the moon. Maybe you saw an early episode where I had like a sunset and stuff. But all of that stuff is so expensive. So expensive. And you know, if you want your game to be performant and you want lower end computers to be able to play it, then yeah. I think it's panorama plus particle effects for the sky. Very simple billboard sprites. And you can see there, they move, which maybe I can sort that out. But they move as I turn, so they're billboards, you know. Maybe I can sort that out though. So they don't move, but they just stay sort of, they don't rotate, but they probably can. So yeah, I think that was a nice and elegant solution to the sky. It's not immediately obvious, which is also good, I think. But if you stop for a second and look at the sky, oh, look at all these particles, look at all these clouds that are drifting very slowly. I like that. Also, I messed around with the actual panorama a bunch. So, in the end, what I decided to do was sort of use two panoramas, like, and merge them together. I think it looks okay. And then I had to draw. Unfortunately, you can probably notice a lot of this. Like, I had to draw the clouds a little bit. But I don't think at first glance you probably didn't notice. Yeah, so what happened was all I did was there's two two HDRI, and I, you know, flipped one on its head and then merged them together and sort of used the clone thing to get sort of this sort of result, and then messed around with it a bunch, and then I think this is my final result here. You see, I've tried my best to flip the shading, right? So you've got the light shading on top and the dark shading on bottom, because that makes more sense if the clouds are on the bottom of the thing. However, you know, of course, I had to do this by hand, so it didn't end up looking very good. I also had to get rid of like the sun here, so you know, this causes problems, and it doesn't look like the best solution in the world, but you can barely notice these problems. Let me go out of game so you can really see. So yeah, you can barely really notice these problems when you're in here, and yeah, you see these clouds, they're just particles. I think that's a real nice solution for it. Turn off this so you can see the skybox a little bit better. Oh, and the sphincter at the bottom, right? This is super. That's why at the bottom this is all one color, right? I've like cut away all of this color because of the sphincter at the bottom, and you also got to think about the sphincter at the top. Make sure all this is the same color. You can still see it a little bit, but it's a lot better than it would be normally. Part of me is like, you should probably, all of this, like maybe even more of it should be cut off. Like all of that, right? You should cut off all of that, and you should cut off all of that. Make sure you have nothing there. But you know, and yeah, they're different colors, but it doesn't look that bad. Like, I actually like that, actually, that they're different, slightly different colors. I think it looks kind of cool. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the skybox. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about today is the water. So I did this on stream earlier today. Yeah, the water. So I've added particles to the water. Had to do some little bit of logic and tweaking and things like that. So now when he goes into the water and he jumps in the water, there's a splash, a little bit of a splash, and also there's these particle effects that follow him around when he's in the water. Right, and they sort of lerp up and down in scale and position depending on whether he's running or whether he's standing still. So they sort of get smaller as he's sitting there. And yeah, there's a splash as well. But they're not very. They're very subdued, right? Very subdued particle effects. There's nothing crazy going on. I guess I didn't want to spend too much time on it. But yeah, that's all I've got for now. Unfortunately, you know, there are shaders out there. I did manage to find a shader. Let's see if I can find it now on video. It's by a fantastic YouTuber called Bon Kahei or something like that, right? And I've used his tutorials before, and he's a great guy. But however, his shader, when I tried to use it for my game, you know, this looks fantastic, right? Well, really, let's look at the GitHub that he posted. I wish he would maybe update this or think about it a little bit more or something like that. But yeah, there we go. You can see the GIFs here. Okay, so this is what I wanted, right? Of course, these ripples and stuff. This would be fantastic. However, when I tried to use it, it was prohibitively expensive for the GPU. You know, you're talking 30-40 milliseconds, which is really unfortunate because and it's possible that I was doing something wrong with it, because when he's using it, he's got 5 milliseconds here on his GPU, so it's possible I did something wrong, but yeah, it was prohibitively expensive, unfortunately. Until I like learn how to do this sort of stuff myself, I think I'm gonna have to leave it. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to do something as complicated and beautiful as this. I would really love to get this into Godot, but yeah, getting something, there's a real balance between performance. Like, it's the same thing with the Sky, right? You know, there's a balance between performance and visuals, and you've got to decide. You really got to make those decisions on what you think is important. And for me, you know, performance is kind of trumps visuals to some extent, because, like I say, I want people who have lower end computers to be able to play it. And yeah, so that's my update for today. I really enjoy making these devlog videos, and the one thing I enjoy most about it is I'll be able to I'll be able to watch these videos later on and be like, oh, look at all the progress I made and stuff like that, and it feels really good. So yeah, all right, thanks.